one of the things that we wanted to really talk about was that the parent and caddy relationship. Before we started, we were talking about this. I, as a dad, have learned so much. Isaac's played 5 tournaments throughout the summer, and I've enjoyed every second of it. But there's also been challenges throughout there, and there's also, to be fair, been observations between that I've seen from other parents, good and bad. And what I wanted to really get a flavour of was what do you do to work with parents and children to ultimately create the best experience? Because, as you say, each player has a different ambition. Each parent has a different level of experience with golf. So what do you try to do to sort of make that experience as positive as possible?
I think the big issue we see in this sport, I think I'll state this first. The biggest issue we see in this sport is families having a hard time just sticking to their own journey. It's very easy to compare your kid to another kid.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem we see, and I think that's the biggest thing we try to stress in our program, is that, hey, you're on your own personal journey.
Yeah.
If you let's say, for example, when I run a US kids tournament, and I probably coach every kid in the boys 6 and under. Yeah. And there's one kid 33 and the other kid's coming in for his first event and he shoots 60.
Yeah.
And that parent we're so far behind, we're never going to get there.
Okay.
So I think it's so important to just have those conversations with the parents and telling them there are personal journey. If you come in day 1 and you shoot 60, well, maybe next week we try and go out and we try and shoot 59. And if we just keep our goals realistic, we'll eventually get there.
Yeah. What do you say from parents are the best traits to have? Because obviously expectations are different, but when you see a really good parent being amazing with their kids, what are the main standout things that you see that you would encourage other parents to try and do themselves?
The one thing I'm always screaming is we need to teach these kids composure. We need to teach them, and we need to teach them forward thinking. Yeah. I mean, they're the greatest traits I feel we need as players. Okay. So we are developing these children to think and act the way we do. So I think it's so important as parents that when we go out in these tournaments in the early days, we're not too worried about the score. We're not too worried about if the swing is off today. We're really worried about how we're acting and the traits we're teaching them.
Okay.
For example, my own little niece, she's in girls 7. Dan caddies for her all the time. Yeah. And sure, he could critique her after every shot, and he could tell her 5 things before she hits a golf shot, but he's not trying to do that. He's trying to teach her composure, patience, and we're always thinking about the next shot, and we're always forward thinking.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing.